Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and so much more. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man, and I finally expected the intro this time, so I'm evolving.
We got it!
But no, I'm very keen for this one. We've got some good discussions to be had, so I'm very keen to get stuck into it.
Yes, we do. We're going to be talking about the recently revealed information around the next Battlefield game, our thoughts on that. This is the news. We have confirmation finally from Andrew Wilson, and I think it was the EA quarterly report.
Yeah.
Earnings and discussions, the board meeting and all that fun stuff. They said... Finally, some clarifying thoughts around the future of both Battlefield 2042 and just generally Battlefield as a franchise. The main thing here is there will not be a new Battlefield game until 2025, fulfilling the want that we on this podcast and the Battlefield show have been wanting for basically since 2042 came out. Honestly, we've been hoping that they take as much time as humanly possible for whatever the next Battlefield game is to hopefully delay, if it is bad, the disappointment that we all have, or give them enough time to fix all of the problems that they ran into in 2042.
Yeah, it just feels like a relief to just hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, don't get me wrong, if they had have announced it was going to be this year, I'd still be like, there's the other side of me that's just a Battlefield
We'd be
fan,
excited, but a different flavor of excited.
It's hard to explain. It's like when you're eating like junk food, you've ordered a pizza and like it's on the way, but like, damn, I'm probably gonna feel kind of gross after this, when you eat some takeaway or something, and it's like the immediate satisfaction, but long term it's not it's not ideal. It'd be like the same situation where I'd still.
It's like going to Taco Bell. You know you're gonna pay for it later, but it is delicious in the moment.
Oh my, it's always worth it though. So yeah, like there's that side of it for me, but from the just taking that step back and thinking, when do I think is best for the franchise to launch? It is absolutely 2025, and I'm glad that they have essentially announced that now. When it'll be, like, whether that is late in the year, so that means still 18-ish months from now, or it could still be.
Honestly, that's the shooter time frame. That shooter season, October onward.
That's kind of my thought too. That I don't see them straying from that like typical October, November release. The exception being if they've got a new strategy, and like that's when also Call of Duty and stuff releases too. So maybe they will go like, let's go April or May or something. But I do think it'll be, I'd guess, November of 2025. So
yeah, and for context, Battlefield 1 came out in October, Battlefield 5 came out in November, Battlefield 2042 came out in November as well.
Yeah, they generally just always. The only reason I'm a little bit more like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was earlier in the year, is because I think a lot of because that time of year used to be like every game. It felt like all of the big games came out that time. But
there were games last year that were like, hey fam, we're not releasing anything this year because it's so packed.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and the realm of like single player games, not just first person shooters or live service game releases, but every type of game. They're just like, how about October, November? That sounds great, right, guys? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind too, and I know it's a different genre, but it's big enough that it matters. GTA is coming out next year. So every game has to avoid, like if you launch in the same 2 to 3 months of that, you may as well delay it, because there is literally no,
or push it out before that happens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. If I would imagine GTA has got like October, probably October and November locked. I don't see them doing a December launch, but I think I think a lot of people will avoid that period next year, because if you announce that date and then GTA just says, all right, we're doing this. Like that's a move out of the way type moment. Like you don't compete. Mm-hmm. No one. Call of Duty should avoid that. Like it's not even just Battlefield. Everyone should avoid that game. And that is the only reason that I think, on top of just like last year, for example, typically you would see a Jedi game launching in, like the first one came out in November, but they launched that in April last year. So there was that. There was Tears of the Kingdom came out in May. I think a lot of these bigger games are actually moving towards just when they want, rather than it's always going to be that holiday period, because we've seen like it doesn't really matter when you. I think they're also locked to like people spend money in like towards the holiday period, so we have to put our game there. But realistically, if you release a good game, it doesn't matter doesn't matter when it is, people are going to buy it anyway. So I mean,
if you're a AAA
game,
you can just choose
January.
whenever.
Yeah, exactly. So I do still, with all of that said, I do still think it'll be late in the year, but I would be less surprised than ever if it actually is like some point earlier in the year, like an April or a May or something. They could go with the June.
Honestly, though, like I don't think it would be that early, but I do think we could see one of the earliest releases for Battlefield as a franchise, just given that, the biggest game of the decade is coming out.
I think they have to avoid that. Like, I think this could be a really good Battlefield, and I'm not going to lie, it could still just be such a bust on launch, not in terms of the game itself, but sales-wise.
It could be the Titanfall 2.
Yeah, exactly. And as much as, like, I don't care about sales, if the game's good, I don't care if it sells 10 copies and I'm playing against the same 10 people every day. I don't care. But, like, it does matter, because Titanfall is a prime example, because that game was fantastic and it was up against like prime Call of Duty and Battlefield, and it never...
Call of Duty, Battlefield 1, the biggest successful Battlefield game ever, and Titanfall came out, was it like 5 days apart from
so.
Which they're both EA produced games.
Yeah, I found that very odd. But, and look, you could say like, yeah, it's turned into Apex, which is successful, or, the franchise as a whole has worked out to be successful, but that game was kind of a bust, even though it was really good. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. I just don't think Battlefield can afford that, in that the last two games have been such a downfall of the franchise that this next one needs to not only launch well in terms of quality, but it's got to do well numbers wise, or else that they may just be like, you know what, that's 3 in a row that are bad. Like, we're done. Like, we're just going to make a new IP or something. So, yeah, I think they really need to avoid GTA, because and everyone does. It's not just like, oh, Battlefield's so bad now they have to avoid. No, like Call of Duty will be avoiding that as well.
If Call of Duty is releasing anywhere near GTA, it needs to rethink its life.
Yeah. No one can. Everyone has to know their place in the gaming industry. GTA 6 will probably be the biggest game. It'll be the biggest piece of media in history. It'll be bigger than any movie, bigger than any TV show. It'll be the biggest thing that has ever happened in entertainment history by quite a margin, I would imagine.
Gonna be quite the release, and I think if you're gonna be a game, you need to release before GTA does, or you need to release a considerable time after GTA.
Yeah, I think games that like need to come out late next year, if there's a game that like it has to sort of come out in that November period, I would just delay it. I'd just do April 2026. I just don't think there's any point. If you launch even 2 months after GTA, it's got such a staying power to it. It's still in the top like 10 most played games on Steam, and it's 11 years old. Like, it's just got such staying power. It's not like people are going to just play it and then be done with it. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at, where I think a lot of people they need to go before it, and I think we will see a lot, whether it's Battlefield or not. I think we'll see a lot of games next year that come out in like earlier in the year to just get out before GTA comes out.
On the topic of Battlefield and the franchise as a whole, this is the exact quote. when it comes to Battlefield 2042. Quote, our team is working hard to deliver for the community with increasingly engaging live services like the recent announcements of Battlefield 2042 Season 7 with new maps, weekly missions, and much more. And quote, we're making investments in the future of the Battlefield franchise. Our exceptional teams from the multiple world-class studios working with cutting-edge Frostbite technology are building an expansive, community-focused Battlefield universe for fans. Typically launching in autumn. This is from Insider Gaming. This is their speculation. We may not see another Battlefield game until autumn 2025 or even 2026. And the reason why they're speculating this is it looks like Mass Effect was revealed last year, but it may not release until as late as like 2029. So that's kind of like looking at their shifting title release schedule. That's probably going to be the time frame, but community-focused Battlefield universe. I think they're actually going to try to accomplish what they intended to do with 2042. If you don't remember, Andrew Wilson said with 2042 they wanted this to be the foundation of the future of Battlefield with an ongoing investment into this like living world. So almost like Halo Infinite was supposed to be this idea and it went a very different direction. This could be the beginning of, we have the core Battlefield game and we have expansions and offshoots of that core Battlefield experience with these other developers, almost similar to what like Call of Duty does with Warzone. Like you play Warzone, it's based off of the same kind of content and a lot of the times the same engine that the mainline Battlefield games are, but it is technically a separate download.
Yeah, the wording of that where he said making a community-based Battlefield universe is very interesting to me. I don't know if he like is getting at anything in particular there or if it's just like PR talk, but I found that to be very interesting. Just the way that's.
Yeah. I think it's that Battlefield. Period. I don't think it's going to be Battlefield and something else. It may just be called Battlefield.
That's a good point. Yeah, and now that I think of it, was any of them just called Battlefield? Like, what was the first Battlefield called? Because the only ones I really know is like as far back as that is like Battlefield 2 and 1942. Like, was 1942 the first game?
Yep, 1942. Yeah. So technically it would be a unique game.
Yeah. So like that is actually a really good shout that they could legit, and I kind of hope they do. I kind of hope it's just called Battlefield. I mean, it's kind of like symbolizes like a return to its roots and just give us the like that old school feeling Battlefield game, which can then be used for if they want to do that type of like the Battlefield universe and stuff. That can be the foundation if they get it right, because that was just never going to work with 2042. It wasn't a good enough game, and it wasn't what people wanted. Even if it was, it was what people wanted.
Even if technically it was fine.
Yeah, like it just doesn't. No one's like interested in that lore and stuff. It's just not what we. It's not that I hate it, but it's not. Yeah, it's just not the
Battlefield fans don't go into Battlefield like they do with Call of Duty. Of like, I can't wait. What's the main Call of Duty guy's name?
Probably Captain Price. I would say is like the face.
Yeah,
of it.
Captain Price. People are invested with him as a character, somewhat as much as you can with like a very stereotypical soldier dude. But they're invested with that character. I don't go like, man, I can't wait to see Sundance's storyline or anyone else in the game because they're so.
You know what it is?
When they launch, they're very cartoony. It just doesn't like
campaign. We don't get a story. We don't get like because all the old like Battlefield 3 and 4 and the Bad Company 2 characters and stuff like. We're on the journey with them through the story, and like you get to see their personalities and stuff. And then if they made a campaign and if they went with the specialist type of deal again, where they've got these like characters, maybe not in a specialist system, but like kind of how COD does it, where you just it's almost just a skin, right? You just pick which character you want to be. If they were to go that path, which I hope they don't, but if it's detached from specialists, as in how we know it now, I'm okay
honestly,
with it.
Legendary skins in Battlefield 5 was the opportune way to do this.
Yeah, like I'm actually completely okay with it, as long as there's enough to that it's not just you seeing the same 5 people running around the map. But the way COD does it, where there's like 20 different operators and you can play as Captain Price in multiplayer and stuff, and that's cool, and it doesn't affect his gameplay. There's no gameplay elements to it. If they want to go with that path, that's fine, but you need to make me care about them. There's not one character in 2042 that I go like, damn, I really like, that's my favorite character. I don't care about any of them. I care about them as a playstyle. So like I would say Sundance is my favorite character.
Yeah,
but
that's the only one I was able to pull off the top of my head because there's some like redeeming qualities to them as a character.
Yeah, like
and
they're not
they're
my
unique.
favorite character because I like the character. I just don't know anything about the character. It's just like I get to fly around in a wingsuit. That's cool. That's literally the only redeeming factor to it. So if they can, I think a campaign is much more important than they thought. Not that I really care about. I don't really care about the campaign, but I think it does add to the game enough that it's worth like. Then you can have your skins where I might get, if you do a good enough story, I might get a favorite character. You know, there might be like a Ghost or a Captain Price in the Battlefield universe, and then it's like, oh,
that's why you do it.
Yeah,
that's why it was so good to see that short film that they launched with 2042 of like, oh, this could be interesting. And then they just went a hard like 180 degrees in the other direction in terms of the tone of the game itself.
Because that's the thing, like Irish is probably, if you had to name a character in Battlefield, I think Irish is probably the only one I can actually name that I know and think like, yeah, that character is really cool. I don't actually know. I can't even remember the names of, mostly because it's been so long, but the Bad Company 2 characters, they were really cool, but I also just don't know their names because they don't have that like staying power that a Captain Price does, for example. And they need to get that because then, that's where, same with like Apex, these characters have names that we, like people who played the Titanfall games know some of those characters. And you can sell skins for them because they're so unique, but also not in this like cartoony, I mean, maybe it works better for that game, to be fair, but the cartoony like style of them in Battlefield just doesn't work. So
a lot of people play Battlefield to be the anonymous soldier in the Battlefield in terms of the multiplayer. And if you're going to have these characters, if you're going to have this tie into quote unquote story, because again, I'm not personally invested in the story of Battlefield 2042. I think it had a lot of potential, but not in the terms of like, let me go onto the website and then like 3 layers deep, there's this PDF that's like 7,000 words. I'm going to read that.
Yeah.
I don't care. if they wanted me to care, they would put it in the game, 2, make short films on it, and all the way down at the bottom would be probably like under the list of top 10 priorities, it's probably level 10 in terms of me caring about these characters is a PDF on a website that you have to click through 2 times for.
Yeah. It's the other way I think that they could go around it, honestly, is let me have a really good character customization and let me make my own soldier. Let me make someone that looks like me. And I know that in like they've kind of done that in the previous Battlefields, but not to the extent of like other games out there. I want to like fully craft the person's face, not just choose like here's 5 options of a head you can have. Like I want to make a character that suits me and that has cool outfits, not just like here's the same outfit,
a great
with different
beard.
Like I just think that is also a really good way to buy skins and stuff if it's tied, if it doesn't have to be tied to anyone in particular, and you can just buy this really cool. The way that the finals is doing it is really cool. They've just got like, and again, that game's got a bit more freedom in the way that it does it, but they've got like a hazmat suit skin in the game and stuff. Just cool stuff that I'm like, oh, that's different. I want that for my character. Like it's not just the same. You know, Battlefield 4. A lot of people praise Battlefield 4's customization. I don't think it was that good. You just all the like outfits are the same. It's just the camo on your clothing. Like it's not actually that good. I think if they got a bit more in depth with it and kind of mixed that like legendary skin style from Battlefield 5 with being able to make your own character and stuff. I think that's the way that they would get people to care as much. Because then I'm like, I guess then I'm more invested because it's me. I'm making myself in the game. Then I actually probably care more. If it's if I don't care for the characters, I'm not going to buy skins for them. And the only way to get me to care is to make a really good campaign, which I'm sure they can. The fact they've got a whole studio for that now.
That's what makes me hopeful, because I have honestly, I think DICE does large scale relatively well. They used to do map design very well, but I haven't seen that in quite some time from them. And their campaigns, they peaked with Battlefield 1, I'm sorry. And that was very different from a typical like campaign experience, honestly.
Yeah, the whole
and then they tried to do something similar.
War Stories or whatever it was called. Like that was a good way of doing
awesome.
it. Yeah, like it was like individual stories. That was cool. Like,
just do that for all of the characters you want to highlight.
Exactly. And like have them in season. Have a new character and they get, you get season 1, right? And we get a new character in that with some cool skins and stuff. And it comes with an hour-long campaign mission, whether it's one mission or like multiple missions like it was in War Stories, that we get to know that character and their stories on whatever setting the game's in. Let's just say it's modern again and there's like a World War III. This is a Russian character, and we get to then go and be on the front lines in Russia and like see that perspective. And then the next character's from freaking Mexico, and we get to see what the war's like in Mexico because there's war everywhere. Like that's a cool way to sell the story and give some like reason, because that's the thing that just didn't work when we got a new specialist in 2042. I just don't care. I don't care what the story is. Don't tell me in a blog post about this character. I'm not reading that. I do not care one bit. Like none of them stood out to me. I can't even barely name the specialists that they added. Like that's kind of my point. And so yeah, I think there's so many ways they can do this really well. And now that they've got more time, like I am quietly confident, or at least like, I don't know if I'd say confident, but I'm cautiously optimistic that the game can do well now that they've got this time. They've clearly been working on it for a while. How long ago was it that they brought on Vince and Marcus? That was like 2022 early, or maybe mid 2022. It's like 2 years already that they've probably been working on it, and now we're essentially getting almost another 2 years of development time. Like that's actually really promising. So I'm feeling good about it.
I think
they need to prove
the thing that makes me hopeful is that they're doing what they should do, which is prioritizing the skills of each studio.
Yeah.
They have the story-based studio, which will be handling the story of the game. They are going to be supported by DICE in terms of development, but it's going to be Marcus Leto's team in terms of the story creation and the game direction on that, which I think is good. Especially with how new of a team that DICE is now. With a lot of the people working on those past game releases, the ones that had campaigns being gone, and then they just did not have any of that in 2042, so they didn't have like the training course that the rest of the team did. So I think that's good. You have Ripple Effect that's going to be doing something with the game. We're not entirely sure, but it's going to be different than Portal is what we've heard.
Yeah, it's like its own mode again, isn't it? But it's not Portal, and I don't know if they confirmed it's not a battle royale, or if I just like heard rumors or something that they're trying to,
I'm
like,
not sure,
get that out there that it's not, they're not making a BR or something. It could still be that, I'm not sure, but I think the time for battle royales is past, even though they're still fun. I just
agree.
don't think.
I think the ones that are there are going to be the ones that are going to be there.
Exactly.
There's no more hunt for the top anymore. It's Fortnite, it's Warzone, and Apex, really.
Yeah, I just don't think, even though I think someone could still come along and make a battle royale that's better than all of them, I don't think it matters. I think Fortnite's so just ingrained in like gaming culture now. It's just like everyone knows Fortnite. Everyone freaking plays Fortnite. I don't play it, but like I've got so many friends who play it, and it's just always going to be around. I've got friends who play it who aren't even into shooters. Like they just play it. anyway. Like it's such a big thing. So
Yeah.
I just think they need to. Yeah, I do like the idea of having some alternate mode to the game, like a battle royale or like Hazard Zone, even though that was not that good. But like having a separate type of a separate way to play the game, I'm all for that. I think having that package of like a campaign, your regular multiplayer, so Conquest and all that, and then your like kind of like competitive multiplayer mode as well. So yeah, a BR, whatever, extraction shooter, whatever they may be. I don't want an extraction shooter either, but just something like that where it's just a bit more competitive and a bit more like it takes the core gameplay and stuff from the main game, which is very casual. Like Conquest and that is just so casual. You just run around trying to cap flags and shoot people. Like it's just good fun. And then it's just fun to have that like, all right, I want to get on with my boys and like sweat and try and win games. Like, because I just don't get that in Battlefield. I don't ever really play that way. I'm never really like desperate to win games or anything.
Battlefield is also just against you playing with people that you know or are wanting to be friends with, or with people that you even slightly know. So there's that part. And again, PTFO, what objective? I don't care about it. And if you can't tell me, or if you can't show me from the game itself what the objective is and why I should care, saying it on Twitter is not going to make me want to do it more.
Yeah.
And I'm the king of like, I suck at gameplay. I am not a good shooter player, but I play support and I play the objective. I'm usually the only person at the freaking capture points.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do PTFO, but it's just like a vessel to get me the most action in the game. It's not because I actually want to win. Even though I want to win. If it's down to the wire, I'm going to try and win a game. But like that's just me being a competitive person. But I want them to have this mode that's like what Warzone gave to me for so many years, where it was like, when I'm getting on Warzone, I'm not there to mess around. Like I'm as much as it's just a game, and everyone's probably like, but it's just a game, man. Don't take it so seriously. Like I enjoy having that like almost sport element to it. I'm a very like almost overly competitive person, and I used to play sport until I just kept getting injured. Like 13 or 14 years of playing it. And so now that I don't play sport anymore, like I want that. I want something to like get on the weekend and like play like what the finals is for me now, where I'm playing with the boys and we're switched on. We're not just there talking. We will genuinely be calling out opponents, and there's a guy over there. Let's all go push the objective together and all this kind of thing. Because it's fun. It's fun to have that competitive edge, and it doesn't have to be taken that seriously to where you're like going to cry if you lose the game or something. But it's just like fun to have that different, I guess, different style to it than what, say, Conquest is.
Your voice chat sounds like a spicy novel rather than you guys catching up. He's on top. No, he's on bottom. Nope, he's coming from the rear. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's some of my most memorable gaming sessions, is just playing with the boys, and we're all just like yelling and just like, so it's like desperate. It's like we're in a real freaking war. It's like actually calling out stuff. I remember one time my girlfriend was like, God, you guys take that so seriously. You were like all yelling at each other. And I'm like, we don't mess around when we're on. We're trying to win games. Like, and at the end of the day, the good thing is it is just a game. So if we don't win a single game, who even cares? It's not like it actually matters. But in that moment, like, it's so much fun to have that, like, just that real competitive itch being scratched. And so I do hope that that's what Ripple Effect is doing. Some sort of, I don't know what it would be, but just some sort of alternate mode to the game. Because I think that is the thing that I've taken from the Battle Royale era, is that I wouldn't say Battle Royales are dead, but I mean, like, I think that era is kind of done, where that's like the key thing. But I do think all these shooters now need an extra mode. I don't think you can just release like imagine Call of Duty just going back to just Call of Duty. Warzone gets deleted and we just every year get a COD. That would be, I wouldn't ever buy that again.
Or I don't know, hypothetically, just having All Out Warfare as your main mode.
Yeah, like imagine. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that's something we need now. Just having that other way to play.
And there's a sweet spot there. You don't have to have 13 modes at launch like Battlefront 2015 did. I think that was way too many modes, honestly. But I think more than 2 is probably good.
Yeah, I think like they need to launch with like obviously the campaign to give us something to just play straight away, and it's like we get used to the game. You can do the tutorial type in there too, where it's like teaching everyone how to get. Here's the new mechanic that we've added. Here's how to use that. Right, that's how to teach people. Gets us invested in the game and the setting and the lore and stuff like that. You then have multiplayer with Conquest, Breakthrough, Rush, Team Deathmatch, and maybe, I mean, even that would probably do, but maybe one other just to round it out, like I don't know what you would have, like Frontlines or just some other like typical Battlefield mode. And then on top of that, you have your separate mode that probably just has like one mode in it, like for example, again, Battle Royale type of deal, where it's just its own thing. It's almost a separate identity, but it's still got the identity of the game in that sense. It's just that I don't know what that can be. I don't really want it to be a Battle Royale. I wouldn't complain if it was. I just don't think that would succeed. And I don't really want it to be an extraction shooter either. I just think I don't really rate them that highly compared to Battle Royales.
What if, and I'm just spitballing here, a tense, squad-focused survival experience that combines edge-of-your-seat gameplay with the best of the Battlefield sandbox? And I'm workshopping the name here, but what if we called it Hazard Zone?
Oh, God. I was going to say, where'd you get that description from? That was clearly written somewhere. Oh, my God. See, like the thing with Hazard Zone, right? If they tried that again without the AI and just refined it, I think that could be really good. I actually think that
it could be so unique.
But it just like, I don't know. I don't know what went wrong. I think for me personally, and I don't think everyone else cares as much, if you put AI in your game, I instantly lose interest. Same with the multiplayer. If I join a match of 2042 and it's like there's 3 people in the lobby and the rest are bots, I'm quitting. I'm not going to fight the bots, man. You cannot get me to care about playing bots. If I'm going
to fight bots, I want to be without internet service. I want that to be the way I experience the game. I don't want it to be the default experience.
Yeah. If I wanted to just fight bots, I wouldn't play multiplayer. So why put it in multiplayer? That's kind of my issue with it. So if they can ever make AI to the point that like you can barely tell the difference between a real player, then that's maybe different. But they're so like boring. They just strafe side to side and they'll shoot you like twice and then they'll just kind of like, they could still be shooting at you and they just don't. And it's just like little things like that. It's like, it's just not fun. Just let me
It's
play
almost
real
like
players.
128 player Battlefield just wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
And let's be real, like let's have that conversation. I don't think that they're going to have 128 players in the next game. It's going to be 64.
Yeah, no chance. Maybe it'll be either part of the big whatever other mode they're doing, or like I'm all for that with like a limited time modes where you just once every couple of months you just say, hey guys, like we're doing 128 play Conquest this week.
Like
That's
Season
fine.
6's mode.
Yeah, that stuff's fine. I'm okay with it when it's not the general premise of the game because it was just too much. The 128 player Breakthrough, I actually really liked that. It was just genuine. There was almost no flow to the game. It was just like run and shoot people, and it just was absolute chaos.
Because they gave you a line, they gave you sections to be in. So 128 players in one part of the map.
Yeah.
That works.
And unfortunately it was too much, but it was still super fun. It was more just, it was one of them things that was, again, actually felt like a limited time mode where that's what limited time modes should be. They should almost be just pure fun and it doesn't have to be balanced and have a flow to it and work perfectly. That type of thing can work in a limited time mode where it's just literally just, I don't care if it's not balanced, just throw me in the deep end and there's bullets going freaking everywhere. That's fun if it's just for a week.
Spawn, die, shoot, repeat.
Yeah. Kind of like the same deal with like Call of Duty does that with like Nuketown or Shipment, where if every game I ever had to play was on Shipment, I would never play Shipment. But when it just comes up for a week, I'm like, absolutely, I want to jump into that. And there's freaking 12 people in a map the size of like a spawn area in most Battlefield maps.
Yeah.
Like that's
Your living
fun.
room is bigger
Yeah,
than the
literally,
map that
yeah.
they put you in.
Yeah. Like that's fun because it's just kind of like, oh damn, like shipments here. Let's go just freaking die every 3 seconds, but it's fun. It's just chaos. And so yeah, I'm all for them to do that with 128 player modes, but as long as it's not the premise of the game, it needs to be 64 player conquest, 64 player breakthrough, and either 16 or 32 player rush. And like a 32 player TDM, you can maybe do bigger, but like they need to just stick to what they had. That worked. That they don't need to change that. And then bring in a freaking 256 player limited time mode if you want. I don't care. I can put 1,000 people. I don't care how big you want to go. Just don't make that the biggest, like the selling point of the game, because surely they've
the
learned their
biggest
lesson.
Battlefield experience ever. I'm checking out. Sorry, we tried that last time. I didn't like it. See you next time.
Yeah. That would really worry me if they come out and say, like, look, we learned a lot and we're going to try it again. I would just be like, nope, I'm canceling my pre-order, please.
Yep. We're going to try 100 players because 128 was a little bit too much, but we're trying this new thing out. It's like, no, you already made the decision. You already figured out that 64 players is like ideal Battlefield.
Yeah. I think they will. I think that we've seen it even in 2042 that they learned pretty damn quick, actually. They took them out like like a long time ago now. It was probably, season 2 or so? Season 2 was Stranded, and that was that was 128 players, was it?
I think so.
But Spearhead wasn't.
I think
so.
All of...
I want to say Spearhead and... forget the desert. What was the name of the desert one? I have not played that map in so long.
Oh. Frick.
That's really annoying that I can't think of it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, those two maps, I think... Spearhead was 128.
Reclaimed?
Yeah, Reclaimed. That's the one. So yeah, maybe it started with Reclaimed. Because I think Spearhead was 128, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I really can't
I can't find any details on specifics on the website, unfortunately. But I think it was like Flashpoint, Reclaimed, and Redacted were all specifically, these are 64-player ones.
Yeah.
So Spearhead has enough size that it can support 128 players, and I think I remember it being 128 players.
Yeah, I want to say it was. But I also think at that point, I think around the time of Spearhead, they had removed 128 players as the key modes. So a lot of those maps, even I think Stranded, I think it was available for 128, but I think they made 64 player the like key modes, as in that was the ones that were on the menu and stuff. So they clearly learned pretty damn early in the game that we didn't want that. And it makes me think, as much as, look, DICE makes some very odd decisions, I give them enough benefit of the doubt to think they're going to learn their lesson there and they're going to stick with 64 players.
Yeah. I would be, like, I would bet money that it's going to be 64 players.
Yeah.
Or at least less than 128 players.
Yeah. Yeah, they could always, I've always found it weird how it, like, is in multiples of 8 or whatever, like.
Yeah.
They can't.
Even
they
though
could
they
just
have squads of 4.
Yeah, they could just do 80 or whatever. Or I guess that is actually part of it, isn't it? They have to do squads, but yeah, that you could change even the squad size back to 5 and do 80 player lobbies or something. That can work if you want to go bigger. But I just think 64 works. I think just don't change it. Do your bigger modes for limited time modes, or that Warzone style mode that they gonna have ripple effect doing or whatever. Just don't put it in the main game. No one wants that.
I 100% agree, and I think this is gonna really. I hope that this is like a humbling moment for DICE and Battlefield as a franchise to say, hey, we can't just put out whatever. We can't take Battlefield this far. Like they've been, since Battlefield 4, pushing the boundaries of what the franchise of Battlefield can sustain. And I think they've stretched it as far as they can, and now it's time to go back to baseline.
Yeah. I do think, I don't think the franchise will ever be dead in the terms of, I consider dead, literal, as in if a franchise is dead, they have stopped making games on it and stuff. But
yeah,
I genuinely think if this next game is a bust, then Battlefield is dead in the terms that most people use it, where it's it will just never recover. I genuinely believe that. If this game, I think it has to be a genuine bust. If it's a 7 out of 10,
PR damage.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a 7 out of 10, where it's everyone's kind of yeah, it's pretty good. It's not anything crazy, but it's not bad. Then I think that's okay. I don't think that it's not good if that happens, but I don't think that's gonna ruin the franchise. But if it's a genuine a 4 or 5 out of 10, I think Battlefield's done. I really do.
They have enough proof points where it's not an anomaly that Battlefield has been kind of sucky for the past 6 years. Honestly, probably even longer than that.
Mm. Even with Battlefield 4 and that, it launched so bad that people will still even use that as an argument, even though that is potentially the best game in the series. But you can go all that way back and be yeah, Battlefield, they haven't launched a good game since Battlefield 3, essentially. All right, look, Battlefield 1 was good, but then it had its own issues after that.
Yeah.
They haven't launched a game.
The issue with Battlefield 1 is that it was successful and was very different from all of the other games.
Yeah.
The game itself is beautiful and perfect, but in terms of the whole Battlefield franchise, it really set up DICE for the road that they're down right now.
Yeah.
It was the butterfly effect moment for Battlefield as a franchise.
Yeah, it really was. I think it made them think they can just go, oh, we can just do that was really different and people loved it. Let's just do everything really different. And
let's throw out the rule book every time we make a Battlefield game.
I don't know what they were really thinking there. I can understand the thought process of okay, we did something really different and people still love our game, so let's just do something different each time. I can understand that, but there's surely going to be a limit to it where they all have to feel similar to each other. I think the setting of the game can be very different each time, but the core of the game needs to definitely stay. And one thing I'll say about Battlefield 1 in regards to the next game, please bring back the behemoths. Please.
Yes.
I will do anything. I will learn to code and put it in myself if that is what it takes, but I need behemoths back in Battlefield, please.
If you want to be community focused, this is how you do it.
Yeah, listen to us, please. I just think it was such a good implementation that those are the type of things where implement stuff like that. If it doesn't work, take it out. If it does work, why get rid of it for the next one? I don't get that. Same with Battlefield 5. The whole squad leader system of being able to call in the big freaking V2 rockets and stuff. That was sick. Keep that in there. No one wants you to remove
the
that.
Building stuff too.
Yeah, I thought the fortification. I think it was people expected it to be freaking Fortnite because when they announced it, people were oh my god, you're going to be able to build buildings. I thought it was good. I thought it didn't hinder the game whatsoever. It didn't.
And you rack up so many points.
Yeah. So those sort of implementations, because imagine that then becomes a staple of Battlefield. That just the same way that people say about Fortnite, that is a shooter where you also can build buildings in it. That's part of the description of Fortnite, even though ironically now it's the no build mode is what people like the most. But that could be one of them things in Battlefield where just destruction, people go, oh, is Battlefield that game where there's you can blow the buildings up, but you can also build stuff? That could be one of the descripting pieces of the series if they had kept that. I really think if they maybe refine it a bit more, it wasn't perfect, but I don't know, man. That's what confuses me when they implement stuff that is actually good and then they remove it. That has never made sense to me. Same with the commander mode. Why get rid of that? That was so cool. I don't know why they ever get rid of stuff like that. And again, if people don't like it, then don't keep it. For the
specialists.
For example, the specialists, if they bring them back, then they're doing the opposite of it. But I I mean, we could probably save this for a future episode, but like I can already picture my dream Battlefield game, and it just involves behemoths. That's it just needs behemoths in there.
You know the car meme. It's Battlefield over it, and then you like slaps hood of car. Yeah. This bad boy can hold so many behemoths.
Yeah,
or the Flex Seal one where it's the tank and it's like Battlefield franchise, and you're like behemoths.
Yeah, that is literally me. That is there's all the water's rushing out and the franchise is dying, and I'm just like, put behemoths back in, you'll fix everything. Like, I want them so bad, man. There was nothing more. I don't think there's anything more Battlefield in the history of Battlefield than seeing the freaking airship appear, and it makes that big horn noise, and you look up and it's like casting a shadow on half the freaking map, and it's on fire.
It was like the next generation of the destruction.
Yeah.
Like Levolution, that was like that game's version of Levolution.
Yeah. Seeing that, even to this day, if I go play Battlefield 1 and I see that about to crash, I will stop what I'm doing. I will stop mid gunfight and just look at that and watch it. I'm not even joking. I remember streaming it like before 2042 came out, and I literally people like everyone in the chat was like, "Damn, you just forgot you were streaming. You just forgot about the chat. You were just watching that."
There's a tear running down your eye.
Yeah. And like it fully invests me every time. There's that and the Siege of Shanghai Tower are the two things in Battlefield for me that I think nothing will ever. Like,
well,
I'll never get
immersion,
over that.
really.
Yeah. I'll never not watch
if
that.
If that
happen.
showed up in a battle, everyone on the battlefield's looking at the thing.
Yeah, and to this day, like even if I went and played Battlefield 4 now, you see everyone stop and watch. It's been out for like, what was that, 2011 or 2013 or whatever? That's been out for so long now, and people still just stop immediately and watch it.
Yeah,
they need to like get back to that side of Battlefield where it's just got that like the like it factor. That was Battlefield to me. Just seeing that the freaking like Hindenburg falling down, like that's it was just so good, so damn good.
It's crazy to think in 2 years Battlefield 1 will be 10 years old.
What? What?
October 21st, 2016.
What? Oh, I'm so old. How is that? That has blown my mind. What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That feels like it came out like 3 years ago to me still. What the hell?
Yeah. Such a momentous game, really.
Yeah. Easily the most memorable for me. Like, and that's saying a lot. Like Battlefield 3 and 4 really, like that was I was like a sort of young-ish teen. I think I would have been at like 13 or something when those games came out. 13 to like 16 age. Which is generally, I feel like, where most of my like most impressionable stuff comes out. But Battlefield 1, I was, I think 20. Well, yeah, it was 2016. Yeah, so I was 20 and I had moved out of home. So I was like an adult at that point, and that is the most memorable to me. Like, I remember sitting there. I lived with me and two other good friends of mine, and we all had our own Xbox, and we would be in our own rooms on the party chat playing Battlefield 1 with each other. Like, that game just has so many good memories. I remember I played the beta on the weekend for like, it was out for maybe 72 hours, and I genuinely think I played 40 hours of the beta. Like, I just didn't do anything else. It was such a good time for Battlefield, man. I really want them to get back to that.
Those were the good old days. But there is always that joke of like, for me, my first experience with Battlefield was with Battlefield 1. So it'll have just, there's the joke with like cars. It's like, what's your favorite model of this car? And it's always the one that what was the last time that they made a good car? And it's like, oh, the one that I bought.
Yeah, exactly.
It's similar with Call of Duty. It was like, when was the last good Call of Duty game? And it's always the first one that person ever played. Yeah. So I feel like it's a little bit of that with me for Battlefield 1, but also that game is just so good.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think that it's hard to compare to like those older games, because realistically no future Battlefield will ever be on that level, just because there is nostalgia. Like that's just how it is. Same with Call of Duty.
One heck of a drug.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. But let us know your thoughts on the future of the Battlefield franchise, and if you want to let us know how far you made it into this podcast, drop your favorite Battlefield game in the comments. Do that. As always, check out Sammy Boy's channel for all things Star Wars, Battlefield, shooters, and just gaming in general. And if you want to check out some more Star Wars content, you can check out Star Wars Uplink on YouTube and wherever you find podcasts. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you later, video gamers.